Hello guys, and welcome to the last part of our project of modding Monkey Island for Democracy 3. Today we're going to look at events and dilemmas and finally at the finished mod. I know it's taken me a while and I'm terribly sorry for that, but in the meantime I've been going around and I've created the whole mod, published it on Steam, I've been updating it, there's a lot of new content. I'm done. With today's update I'll be completely done, and today's update is going to go live as soon as I finish this video, but I want to make sure that I did this video before that, just so that this playlist is finished, the modding project is finished, and then we'll move on to whatever else is out there, and we're going to talk about that at the end of the video, what's actually going to happen with this channel. But first let's talk about events and dilemmas. We're going to start with events because I've created 4 of those so far. And basically, if you haven't watched the part before that one, the one about grudges, I think you should do that, because events and dilemmas both heavily use grudges. So right here in our simulation folder, I was going to use the German word there for a second, never mind me, and we're going to go into events, and here we have all text files that are events. And now we're going to look at the very first event I created, the raid on a luxury cruiser. And this is what it looks like. And you can just take any event you already have from the stereotypical data and just add things or change things the way you need them. So this whole thing starts in the config, and then there's also the influences down there, and we're going to talk about both these parts for a little bit. So of course it needs a name. Again, this is the in-game name, so the name for the game to reference it. The GUI name is the name that you will actually see when this event happens. There's a texture, and don't ask me why I named it situation underline icons underline, but I did. Probably because they're all in the same bitmap folder. They have to be placed in situations. So I guess I just named them sit underline icons underline, but basically you can name them whatever you want. You can also use, as you can see, JPEG files as opposed to DDS, because they're bigger and they're also in color, so that's not going to be a problem. Then the description, which is just what you're going to see once this event happens. A sound, you can look at the whole sound file in the main data folder, which is here, Democracy 3 data and sounds. You can basically use all those OGG data to make a sound that will be played as soon as you open the window. And on implement we put our grudges. And again, if you don't know what grudges are, please watch the previous video because I don't really want to explain it again. But here you see the standard grudge to make sure that it doesn't trigger every other turn, and then another grudge for piracy and another grudge for GDP. Make sure that this is one long line. There are no spaces in between, because otherwise it won't work. I know it looks horrible, it looks really disgusting, but otherwise it will not work. And twice so far this has been the reason why it doesn't work. The only time you can put spaces is in the very first part, because there you put the GUI name again. And then the second part is what the in-game name is, and the third part is the effect. And then of course the influence and the decay. And right, so when you're done with all that, there's an influences part. And this one is, of course, how should it trigger? And right now it triggers if piracy, which starts at 0, gets a value of 0.95 times x, so whatever piracy is, you take 95% off of that basically. And the rule, and we see that up here, is that every 3 turns the event manager will check if something is above 70% to trigger it. So 70% is the magical number. If more than one is above 70%, the highest one will trigger. But basically if all are under 70%, none will trigger. So there is a sort of a threshold to not have an event every 3 turns. And 0.95 is pretty high, you'd think, but most events have more than one influence, so other events will trigger before that. For now, with the crime levels that I have in the current game, it will always trigger superhero first. even if I pump everything I have into piracy the first 3 turns, it will still trigger superhero first, and then it may trigger luxury cruiser raided or voodoo lady appeared as second if you put everything you have into voodoo or piracy respectively. So yeah, you have to fiddle with those numbers, but it should reach a value of 1 or a bit above there, and you can also put negative influences. So if you want something to work against that, for instance, when I started creating the LeChuck event, I first had this event diminished by naval forces, but you know, it sort of acts as an event if you're too good in the game. Wait, I just opened up the wrong thing, because you can see here it basically just destroys your piracy and your tourism and your international trade. So I didn't want people to be able to escape from that, and so I got rid of the minus naval policy. Or what's it called? I think it's called naval policy, right? No, it's called naval spending. Naval spending is the one. And also, when we're looking at LeChuck, you see here underline winning underline, which is basically a value, and I've never seen that before, and I've only seen that in events. It checks for winning. It checks for how well on average you're doing in the game. I don't really know what winning is composed of, but I guess it's sort of the budget, how good you're keeping up with the budget and not making too much deficit, and also of course your popularity. If both of those values, and probably other values but I don't know, are high, then the game says, okay, you're winning, and then it checks for this winning value and adds up to 40% actually. So yeah, you can see if piracy is full and winning is full, this makes it 1.1, and the positive piracy is just 0.95. So if you're winning and you have a high piracy, LeChuck will always trigger before we raided a luxury cruiser thing, which is what I wanted to do. And yeah, it takes some time before winning comes into effect, the way it just feels in game. It takes quite a lot before the game says, okay, right now you're winning, or at least the winning value is on a level where it's really starting to make a difference. And yeah, that's nice because you can put really punishing events into the game, but you can also make sure that they don't trigger too early. But as soon as you have Golden Age of Piracy and everything is sort of coming together, then bam, it's LeChuck attacks or ports. And actually this right here, piracy minus 60%, or 0.6 for quite some turns, is enough to break you out of Golden Age of Piracy. Also the negative voodoo event, it's called Murray, but it's actually a voodoo ritual gone wrong. It diminishes your voodoo enough to kick you out of voodoo blessing, so it's enough to kick you out of the positive situations, which is what I always intended. You have to get back up from this actually. And yeah, those are events, those are the influences. You can also put a random influence, which is here, underline random underline. So yeah, well, as it says, it's just random. And a lot of the default events actually have that. I was quite surprised at that, but a lot of the vanilla events do have either winning or random, or even both actually. So yeah, quite some values that you don't have direct control over. And yeah, let's just look at dilemmas, because dilemmas are basically the same, and I cannot show you any dilemmas I made because I didn't make any. But we're going to look at data. Now where do I find them? I should have checked that out before. Dilemma, airport expansion. So this is obviously a vanilla event, and you see it starts out the same, only it says dilemma and not config. Give it a name, give it a GUI name, give it a description, give it some influences. But then of course you have the 2 options, and as far as I know, you can only put 2 options. I don't know what happens if you put option 2 in there, but I do think that it just crashes, because right here it also just says option 0 and option 1, and this is a pretty thorough guide, so I think if there would be an option to have more than one option, more than two options actually, I've been saying option too much in these past 5 sentences, then they would probably mention it. So yeah, only two options for you. And of course they both got a name and a description as well, and then basically just two different grudges, which may or may not be just direct opposites of each other. I think right here it's just, yeah, but it's a different strength basically. And also it looks like they're not decaying. My roommate just came home. I really hope you do not hear that. Banned fox hunting. Are those? No. So the banned fox hunting one is not the children's food. No, they're all 0.9. DNA database 0.9, 0.9. But the airport expansion 1.0. This thing never decays. Am I right about that? That's basically what I'm seeing here. So the new grudge, blah 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 blah, that value itself is multiplied by 0.9, right, because it says 0.9 right here. Okay, so that's good to know. Whatever decision you make for airport expansion, well, I guess it makes sense, because either you have an expanded airport and it's here to stay, or you don't. But still, I didn't think... And actually that explains why the effects are so weak. 0.06 tourism, that's nothing. Air travel, 0.11, that's still nothing. That's, well, 11% at most. So it doesn't decay. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. And I stumbled across this just now. So cool. Also shows you how horribly prepared I am for this, because I'm not in the slightest. Anyway, so yeah, that are the dilemmas, but I didn't put them in because I didn't have any good ideas, and I don't think that dilemmas are that important, well, because there are already that many dilemmas that I would have to put in like half a dozen before it makes any difference. Interesting side note, by the way, if a dilemma triggers, it cannot trigger again for 32 turns. So there's no need to put a grudge in there that actually prevents the dilemma from triggering again, because it can't for 32 turns, never mind the influences. Okay, so that's it. That's it for dilemmas and events. Dilemmas basically just events with two different turns. And that is basically it. I was just waiting there for a moment to think of something else, but yeah, we're done. Which means I am done, because right now I'm just going to show you how the mod looks right now. I'm going to call this version 0.1. I'll upload it, as I said, on Steam when I'm done with this video. Maybe I'll show you how to upload it, because now that they've implemented it in the Steam Workshop, it's actually pretty nice and easy to upload that, but just so you see the forms and whatnot. Also have the flag ready in the main thing. You're gonna need it if you'll upload it for the workshop, because do I want to show you the workshop? Well, I guess there's no harm in it. If you go for workshop, and of course that didn't work, you can see here it needs a title picture, sort of. So it actually takes the one that's in here, and you cannot publish your mod if you don't have that. So make sure before you do that for Steam that you put a JPEG file in here in the main folder, just in your mod folder, because otherwise you have to, you know, fiddle around with that Alt tab out of the game and so on and so forth, because it needs something to show to people. And yeah, so right now we're gonna go into the game. I'll see you when we're in there, and then I'm gonna show you around, and we're gonna publish this last update of the mod, at least for now, and then we're going to talk about what's going to happen with this channel. So until then, so let's go play. This is all the same, you already know that. It takes quite a long time to load, and I'm not really sure why it does that, and of course it doesn't now that I'm trying to show you that, but whatever. So yeah, you start out with green health, and I'm not really sure how to get rid of that, to be quite honest, but you also start off with full crime, which is pretty nice. It actually has become a pretty hard mod. The version before that was even more difficult, but I didn't even try to do it because for some reason it had class warfare and armed robbery. But I've changed around some bits and bytes here and there. Now we have alcohol abuse. We have ghettos, which is a pain in the ass to get rid of because it just takes so long. And yeah, you start out with quite a lot of red. So okay, what haven't you seen? You probably haven't seen some of the voodoo policies I've added in. And don't worry, I'm not gonna play through all of this. I'm just gonna show you around, at least until we get either a positive situation or a no, actually hold on, a positive situation, or what am I thinking of? A positive situation or one of our events, of course. So yeah, as I said, I'm now done with this mod, more or less, because it doesn't mean that I'll never come back to it and never do anything for it again. Why aren't you working? Here we go. It just means that for right now I'm done. I'm gonna wait a couple of days, couple of weeks maybe even, see what people are saying about the mod. Right now the feedback has been quite positive, but I haven't really had people come up to me and say, okay, this is what I like about the mod, this is what I don't like about the mod. So people just leave me comments like good or very nice or whatever, but that doesn't tell me anything about the mod actually. So it's kind of hard to figure out what people like and what they don't like. Also, playing Democracy 3 while recording is obviously a pain in the ass, and I've never recognized that before. Well, so yeah, there's of course still going to be a lot of balancing. I've balanced every update I made so far. I've been balancing a lot, and right now I'm pretty happy at where the mod is. See, that's the thing, superhero. Doesn't matter what I do, it's always going to be superhero, which is okay. Of course, it's minus 18%, and you see violent crime is going down. Crime finally is going down. Crime is really so ridiculously high because Voodoo Curse actually boosts both crime and violent crime, which is why I'd like to get rid of it in the near future, which is why we're going to commercialize Voodoo. And yeah, what was I saying? I really don't remember. Anyway, we're gonna implement food stamps right here. So yeah, I'm done, but it doesn't mean that I'm just gonna ignore whatever people are going to write. Piracy declines. That is over. Nice. We're going to allow same-sex marriages, of course. So yeah, I'm of course going to have an eye on it. There's actually another mod I would like to try, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because I may find that it's much too hard for me and I may switch up, or I may not even do it. Did I mention that it's exams time on my university? So yeah, that's also why it took me ages to make this video. I'm in preparation for my exams, for my winter exams. So yeah, Street Gangs is gone, Voodoo Curse is gone. At the same time, Voodoo Blessing is here, which is nice. Golden Age of Piracy is here as well, but just barely. Yeah, I've been balancing around, for instance, the piracy. Piracy itself now actually just boosts the income, but Golden Age of Piracy now gives you a GDP. So Golden Age of Piracy is a bit stronger, and therefore piracy is a bit weaker than it was before. So yeah, another project that I have in mind, and actually I cannot believe I didn't think of that first. I cannot believe I thought of Monkey Island. I mean, I love Monkey Island, but when it comes to fictional states, I cannot believe that I didn't think of the one thing that I now have in mind. But anyway, you'll see it, or maybe you won't, which is why I'm not going to talk about it too much. We'll see it when, or you'll see it when I decide to make something for it, which actually brings me to the next thing while I'm trying to figure out why... Oh no, we already have Voodoo Blessing. Oh, never mind me, I'm just being stupid. Playing and talking is more difficult than you would imagine, especially if you're not talking about something, especially if you're talking about something not game related. That is really hard. Unemployed benefit, that's the one I'm looking for all this time. Right. Credit rating. So yeah, the one thing we're gonna still talk about is what's going to happen with this channel. Many of you probably don't know this, but this is just a side channel. I actually run a German channel, and I've just decided to make this channel because I figured I'll be making tutorials for Democracy 3 modding, and I think that they should be in English because the German fan base is really, really small. I mean, just generally German YouTube is very, very small, so there's a lot less going on. And if I made a German playlist for modding of Democracy 3, then there would not be any contact with real modders whatsoever. I mean, I know one other German modder, which is who is Aegis, the guy who made the Austrian mod. At least I think that he's Austrian. I mean, I actually don't know him. I just said I knew him, but I mean, like, I know of one other modder who's probably German, and that's Aegis. So yeah, the Voodoo Lady appeared. Finally, I can stop playing because this is really freaking me out, playing and talking at the same time. She has the church bells in the background, which I just think is funny, but of course it's not fitting. Anyway, it's boosting our tourism quite a lot, I think. Right, Voodoo Lady appeared, 28%. At the same time, violent crime is already down, and crime is now also going down quite a lot, 14%. Yeah, so we're gonna stop right here, I think. We're not gonna play through the first thing. Yeah, so so much for the mod, and I was in the middle of a sentence before I stopped talking and started talking about the Voodoo Lady. So yeah, I do have a German channel, but I didn't want to focus my democracy things on that channel, so I created this channel. And now the problem is, what am I going to do with this channel? And I do think, even though that wasn't the plan originally, I do think that I'll keep it as a Let's Play channel. So for all those who just subscribed because there was something democracy related, you better unsubscribe. No, I'd love if you stay, but I can understand if you just subscribe for Democracy 3 just for the modding tutorial. There will not be another tutorial about that because right now we're finished. If I decide to work on a second mod, of course I'll show you some work in progress, and if there's a nice mod coming out, I'll probably play Democracy 3 a heck of a lot on this channel. But actually, starting tomorrow, we will have a whole different playthrough, which is going to be the Crusader Kings 2 add-on Sons of Abraham. I think it's called Sons of Abraham, which is a new religious DLC, and I'm looking forward to it very, very much. And yeah, so we're going to play some Jewish lord and try to recreate the Kingdom of Israel, basically, is what I think we should do for this mod. So yeah, from here on out I'll try to balance both channels, the German and the English one, probably with a bit of a focus on the English one because it just gets to many, many more people than the German one. The German one, I have to say, is a bit dearer to my heart because it's just, you know, mine, and I've had it for a year. But you know, if you look at the view counts, if you look at the subscribers, you can see that there's just a fraction going on the German channel as on the English channel. I mean, I've had the German channel for a year, and it's taken me almost a year to get above 100 subscribers. And I've had this channel for 3 weeks, and it has, I think, somewhere around 15. So that's not even close to some sort of connection. Last thing I want to show you, by the way, is the mods. I've set all those mods to inactive because they, of course, because they should not interfere with the Monkey Island mod. So there's the Steam Workshop. You can visit the workshop from here. You can refresh the content. It actually takes a couple of minutes the first time you upload a mod, so don't panic. Create a mod. Well, just fill in all the blanks. As I said, you'll need a preview image. You can go there to modding tutorials, which is not part of the game, but it'll send you to, I think, even the modding site. I'm not sure at this moment, and I don't want to alt tab out, which is basically what's going to happen when I click this button while I'm recording. And then there's update your mod. So we have here Monkey Island. The author is still me. So that's Raf Monster, which is a German title, which is also why this channel has a different name, because I just swapped the two parts around, the Raf and Monster, because my name's Raphael. That's part of the thing. Current version is 0.1. We're done. Oh, come on. Alright, so let's get rid of all of that. Actually, right, I thought it might do that. You cannot put a lot of text in there, as you've probably seen. You can put a lot of text in there in the Steam Workshop, which is what I'm going to do once I'm finished here. Well, no, because that means... am I going to just destroy my own mod? Please, 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 please. Okay, now it's here twice. I don't know. Okay, so I'm not going to update it here, because if I update it now, I'm going to destroy this description, because the description actually in the workshop is much longer than it can be here. I don't know why, that's just stupid, that's just completely ridiculously stupid. But so I'm not going to update it here, I'm going to update it as soon as I Control-C'd my old description, so I don't have to write it all again, because I've listed the features and so on and so forth. So yeah, but that's basically how you create and update a mod. It's not perfect. Sometimes it'll take some time to see a mod in the workshop, and of course, well, that thing about the description is obviously not optimal. But apart from that, it's nice that there's the option to doing that, because I've seen that the Monkey Island mod is quite well accepted, and I see how many people download it from the Positive side, and I see how many people download it through Steam, and of course the Steam counter just goes through the roof, and it's pretty easy for the people to install mods. And as far as I know, there have been some problems with installing mods for the first couple of days, but now they're all gone. So yeah, I haven't heard about a single mod that doesn't work, or if it doesn't work, then it's just because of the mod. It's the modder's fault and not Steam Workshop fault. So yeah, I will not show you how to upload your mod, and basically I've already talked about what's going to happen with this channel. Is there anything else I want to talk about now? We're starting Sons of Abraham probably tomorrow. I don't know, maybe not tomorrow, because I'd like to get back into the game. I haven't played Crusader Kings 2 for a while. If you don't know what Crusader Kings 2 is, you will be surprised, because Crusader Kings 2 is one of my favorite strategy games ever. And I've played a lot of strategy games, and I've had a lot of favorite strategy games over the years, but Crusader Kings 2 is pretty damn nice. So yeah, we're gonna start with this. We're gonna of course start with other stuff. Basically, mainly it's going to be strategy stuff and adventures. I've just played through Primordia, and in a couple of weeks I might play through it again and actually make a video about it, because there's a lot of stuff I missed on my first playthrough. I just found that out a couple of hours ago. And yeah, so that's what's going to happen with this this channel. I will not start on the next mod before December, because I still have some ideas left for Monkey Island, and I might want to introduce them at some point, but right now I'm just happy that I'm done with all the events and so on and so forth. And it's actually taken quite a long time, and now I'm just waiting for feedback. What people like, what people didn't like, what they think makes no sense, and so on and so forth. So yeah, we're gonna wait for that before I add something new, or before I balance stuff out. So yeah, you'll just have to stick around. If you do, I'll love you. Well, that sounded weird, but I'll be happy if you stick around for my other projects. But this is it for the Mark C3. I am very proud of what I did, but I'm also happy that it's over. I have to tell you, I'm very happy that we're finally done with this mod, and it's become way better than I've expected. I've got to say that. That's the first time I ever made a mod for any game basically on this scale. I've made like tiny things for other games that are moddable, but I have to say the Mark C3 is just so easy to mod that even for me, who's kind of a retard sometimes when it comes to programming, had no problems making this mod. But of course it turned out, again, to be much more work than I expected at first. But now I'm done and I'm quite happy, I'm quite proud of it, and I hope you like it, and I'll see you probably with Sons of Abraham. So until then, bye.